Have you ever found yourself lying in bed next to him, the silence of the room wrapping around you, your skin still warm from the closeness you just shared, and suddenly this thought slips into your mind: why did he actually sleep with me? Was it because he's truly into you, because he's madly in love? Or was it something else entirely, something hidden, something beneath the surface, quietly driving his behavior? Here's the truth most men will never say out loud. Sex isn't always about pure desire for you as a woman. Sometimes it's about what you symbolize in that moment, and when you uncover these hidden motives, everything shifts. You stop getting lost in mixed signals, you stop confusing physical chemistry with real love, and most importantly, you start seeing the difference between a man who is genuinely there for you and a man who is only there for what you can give. Now, before you start worrying or doubting every single man you've been with, let me calm you down. This isn't about fear. This is about clarity, about giving you back your power, because once you understand the truth, you're no longer playing blind. You're in control. Most women think men sleep with them only for one main reason: attraction. The logic goes, he must like me. Otherwise, why would he want to be intimate? But this is where so many women end up hurt, because attraction, as real as it feels, is only the surface. Beneath it live many layers: ego, curiosity, escape, even emptiness, that can push a man straight into your bed while his heart is still far away. So think back for a moment. How many times have you mistaken sex for closeness? How many times have you told yourself, he wanted me last night, so of course he must want me in his life, only to wake up and discover that the morning after, he has pulled away, vanished, or left you hanging with just enough words to keep you waiting for him? That's why in this video, I'm going to break down 5 hidden reasons why men sleep with women. Some will surprise you, some might make you laugh, and some might sting a little. But all of them will sharpen your vision, because when you see the why, you stop being fooled. You stop settling for half-invested attention, and you begin holding out for the man who doesn't just want your body, but craves your whole being. Let's start with one of the most common, yet least openly discussed reasons: validation. Now, you might hear the word validation and think it's harmless, maybe even a little flattering, but let me explain why it matters. For many men, intimacy is not just about attraction, it's about proving something to themselves. Each time a man sleeps with a woman, it whispers something to his ego. It tells him, I'm still attractive, I'm still wanted, I still have it. And here's the twist: half the time he doesn't even consciously know he's doing it. Think about that guy you know who always seems to be chasing women, never settling down, constantly looking for the next conquest. On the surface, it looks like confidence. You see him and think, wow, he must have endless options. He must feel great about himself. But often the opposite is true. Deep down, he feels insecure, and the only way he knows to soothe that insecurity is through sexual validation. Every new woman gives him a quick jolt of reassurance, a temporary ego high, a stamp that says, yes, I still count. And let's be fair, women do this too. Maybe not always with sex, but in other ways. How many times have you entertained messages from someone you didn't really like, just because the attention felt good? How many times have you replied to a man you weren't serious about, not because you wanted him, but because it was nice to be wanted? Exactly. Men do the same, except they often act it out through intimacy. Here's why this matters for you. If a man is sleeping with you for validation, then his attention has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with him. It's not about your unique connection, not about your heart, and not about your future together. It's about patching up his fragile ego in that moment. That's why you'll sometimes meet a man who is wildly persistent at first. He chases you like you're the only woman alive. He compliments you endlessly. He calls, he texts, he flirts so hard that you feel like the most stunning woman on earth. And then, right after sex, the energy shifts. He cools off, he pulls away. He goes from blazing hot to icy cold, leaving you confused, wondering, did I do something wrong? But you didn't. What happened is simple. He got the validation he was chasing, and once that box was checked, the urgency vanished. Now, let me make this clear. This doesn't mean that every man who sleeps with you for validation is some kind of villain. A lot of the time, it isn't intentional. Sometimes he's not even aware of it himself. He's acting on a need he doesn't understand. But here's where the danger lies. If you mistake his validation seeking for genuine interest, you risk giving your heart to someone who never had any real plan to stay. So, how do you recognize it? What are the signs? Here are a few clues. 1. He is obsessed with the chase, but loses interest quickly after getting what he wants. 2. He constantly needs reassurance, compliments, attention, playful flirting, just to feel okay about himself. 3. When he talks, it's more about how you make him feel than about who you are as a person. A man who truly desires you will stay long after the initial mystery is gone. He'll want to know your thoughts, your quirks, your passions, not just your body. And ladies, here's the power move. Never confuse his hunger for validation with proof of your worth. His behavior reflects him, not you. The woman who understands this truth, the woman who realizes that sex can be just an ego boost for a man, is the woman who doesn't hand over her body to every man who throws her a little attention. She waits for the one who shows up consistently, who invests in her beyond the bedroom, who proves his interest with steady actions, not fleeting passion. Remember, validation might bring him into your bed, but only real connection will keep him by your side. Now let's move to another hidden reason. Sometimes a man will sleep with you, not because of who you are, but because of what you help him forget. For many men, sex becomes a form of escape, a way to silence the endless noise in their minds, to push away stress, to avoid the heavy weight of responsibilities, even just for one night. It's not always about desire for you, and it's not always about passion. Sometimes it's about needing a break from his own reality. Picture this: a man who feels crushed by his job or like he's falling short in his life. He might reach for intimacy not because he wants deep closeness, but because he wants distraction. In that moment, you become his safe place, his temporary relief. The act itself turns into a drug. For a brief time, he doesn't have to think about overdue bills, family problems, or that nagging voice inside that tells him he isn't enough. For that little window, he gets to shut the world out. And yes, that can feel intoxicating. It can even feel flattering, because you feel like the one who eases his pain, the one who makes him forget. But this can become dangerous if you confuse it with genuine connection. You might notice this type of man is amazing in the moment, full of fire and presence, but then he disappears when reality kicks back in. He's magnetic when you're together, but distant when you're apart. He says all the right things when he's undressing you, but avoids deeper talks when you ask about his feelings. And that's because his intimacy with you is not about building something, it's about escaping what he doesn't want to face alone. This can be confusing for women because his passion feels so genuine. He holds you close, he kisses you like you're the only thing keeping him alive, and you may start thinking, wow, he must truly care about me. But the reality is, sometimes he's just holding on to the comfort you give him. When the world feels crushing, you become the nearest thing to peace. Yet when that escape ends, when he has rested, when the morning light arrives, his troubles return, and instead of staying by your side to face them, he retreats, leaving you questioning what mistake you made. But you didn't do anything wrong. You were simply his shelter for a night. And here's the part that hurts. A man who turns to sex as a way of escaping isn't doing it to connect with you. He's doing it to run away from himself. That doesn't mean he's a bad man. It doesn't mean he deliberately set out to use you. Most of the time he doesn't even see it himself. But if you don't notice it, you can spend weeks, months, even years hoping he'll eventually recognize you, fall for you, commit to you, when in truth, he was only looking for a temporary way out of his own storm. If you've ever given a man your most vulnerable side only to feel empty afterward, this could be why. You expected closeness through intimacy intimacy, but he was using intimacy to avoid closeness. You thought being physical would move things forward, while he was simply pressing pause on his life. And here's the truth you need to hold on to. Real connection doesn't happen when someone is trying to escape. Real connection begins when a man is present with you, not when he's hiding inside you. If you notice, he only reaches for you when he's stressed, low, or in crisis, but not when life is calm. That's a sign he's looking for comfort, not partnership. The challenge is knowing when a man wants you as his partner and when he only wants you as his medicine. Because if you don't see the difference, you'll mistake his short escape for lasting love. And you deserve far more than being someone's relief. You deserve to be someone's choice, even when the world is not collapsing around him. Curiosity is one of the most underestimated reasons men end up in bed with you, and yet it happens more often than people admit. Sometimes it's not about love, not about attraction, not even about validation or escape. It's about the unknown, the unanswered thought in his head. What would it feel like to be with her? That question alone can pull a man closer, not because he sees a future, but because he wants to satisfy his craving for novelty. Now here's the tricky part. Curiosity usually shows up dressed as charm. When a man is curious, he'll study your smile, he'll pay attention to the way you carry yourself, he'll find excuses to talk to you longer, and you may think, he's interested in me, he must like me. But sometimes what he's actually interested in is the fantasy of you, the idea of experiencing something he hasn't before. It's not about who you truly are, but what you symbolize in his imagination. It's like someone staring at a gift wrapped beautifully under a Christmas tree. The box looks perfect, the bow is flawless, and the only thought on their mind is what's inside. They can't rest until they've unwrapped it. But here's the problem. Once the gift is opened, once the mystery is revealed, the thrill is gone. And that man who seemed so fascinated can suddenly feel distant, because his curiosity has been answered. You may know this story well. A guy who chased you hard, flirted endlessly, made you believe the tension was proof of something deep, only for things to fizzle out right after you gave in. That doesn't mean you weren't desirable. It means his fuel was curiosity. And once that curiosity burned out, so did his urgency. The danger here is that curiosity often looks very close to real interest. The late night texts, the calls, the charm, the way he made you feel like you were the only one in the room, all of it can trick you into believing his heart was invested. But curiosity burns fast. It's exciting, but it doesn't always last. And if you mistake it for love, you can end up giving your heart to someone who only wanted the thrill, not the commitment. Now, curiosity isn't always cruel. It doesn't always come from a bad place. Sometimes it's playful, sometimes it's innocent. Sometimes a man is simply drawn to you because you feel new and different, and he wants to explore that. The real problem is when curiosity is the only force driving him. Because when that's all there is, once the newness is gone, there's nothing left to keep him there. This is why it's so important to watch his behavior after intimacy. Does he keep showing up? Does he still want to know more about you? Or does he pull away, lose interest, and stop trying once he's crossed the line? That's how you find out whether his curiosity was part of a deeper intention or the only intention he had. And here's a mindset shift worth holding on to. Don't feel flattered just because a man is curious about you. Every woman attracts curiosity. It's natural. What really matters is whether his curiosity turns into something more solid, whether he moves from fantasy into real life, whether he still stands by you once the mystery is gone. Because you're not a puzzle to be solved or a passing experiment. You're a woman who deserves more than being someone's temporary adventure. The right man won't just want to satisfy curiosity, he'll want to keep discovering you even after he already knows what it's like to be with you. Sometimes, the reason a man has sex with you is painfully simple. Not because of love, not because of curiosity, not because of escape, but simply simply because he can, because the chance was there. And this is one of the hardest truths to accept because it feels personal when really it isn't. For some men, sex isn't about deep emotion, it's about opportunity. If it's available, if you're willing, if the timing works, he'll take it. Not because he's secretly in love, not because he's planning a future, but because the door was open and he chose to walk through it. That can sting because women are often wired to connect more meaning with intimacy. You might think, if I let him get this close, it must mean something. But for him, it might mean nothing more than convenience. Think about the guy who always texts you late at night, never during the day, never to ask about your world, but always with that "what are you doing" message at 11 p.m. He's not building a bond, he's seeking access. Or the man who doesn't invest effort outside the bedroom, but always appears the moment he thinks you'll let him in. That's not love. That's availability. And here's where women often get wounded, because his body shows up. It's easy to assume his heart must be there too. But availability is not affection. Just because he's quick to touch you doesn't mean he wants to know you. Just because he's steady in the bedroom doesn't mean he'll be steady in your life. What makes this reason so painful is how subtle it is. He might even whisper the right words in the heat of the moment. He might tell you that you're stunning, that he wants you, that you make him lose control. And while all of that might be true in that very second, it doesn't always mean he actually sees you as someone to build a life with. If you slow down and pay close attention, you'll notice that outside of intimacy, his effort is almost invisible. He doesn't ask the kind of deep questions that show genuine interest. He doesn't take time to invest in your goals or your dreams. He doesn't step up when you truly need someone by your side, because what drives him is access, not emotion. The danger here is confusing a man's availability for his true value. If you allow his presence in the bedroom to convince you that he's also present in your actual life, you'll end up giving and giving while receiving almost nothing in return. That cycle leaves you exhausted because you keep hoping that his physical presence will eventually turn into emotional commitment. But the truth is, it rarely does. So, how do you know when a man is motivated by nothing more than access instead of real love? Pay attention to the patterns. Notice when he reaches out to you. If it's only when it's easy for him, only when you're convenient, only when it requires little effort, then that's not love. That's simply opportunity. The man who truly wants you won't just appear when it's simple or fun. He'll be there when it's uncomfortable, when it takes sacrifice, when it demands time, energy, and even vulnerability. Ladies, here's the real truth. You are not valuable just because you are available. You are valuable because of who you are at your core, and the man who actually sees that will prove it through the way he treats you when intimacy isn't even an option. He will want your laughter in the daylight, your thoughts during an ordinary afternoon, not just your body in the dark. Always remember, access may get him into your bed, but only real love, only true investment, only consistent care will keep him in your life. And once you begin to hold men to that standard, you stop being an option and start being the prize. There is one reason men will want to be intimate with you that feels completely different from all the others we've talked about. It's not about feeding his ego. It's not about using you to escape his problems. It's not about satisfying curiosity. And it's not about taking advantage of convenience. It's about something much deeper, something that truly matters, real connection. When a man is moved by real connection, intimacy stops being just physical. It becomes emotional. It turns into the language he uses to show you the depth of his feelings. It's no longer about release, no longer about just ticking a box, and definitely not about keeping score. It becomes about closeness, about intimacy, about the longing to bring his world together with yours, even if just for a short moment. You'll notice the difference instantly, because this kind of connection doesn't only show up in the bedroom, it shows up everywhere else too. The man who's after connection won't just touch you when you're half undressed. He'll reach for you when you're stressed, when you're tired, when you're feeling weak. He'll hold you in those moments when you feel most fragile. He'll look into your eyes as if he's searching for something only you can offer. That's how you know sex for him is not a transaction. It's a reflection of something real, something honest. Think about how it feels to be with a man like that. The way he touches you isn't rushed. The way he talks to you isn't careless. There's a calmness, a presence, a stillness in the way he is with you. It's as if he doesn't just want to have you, he wants to truly experience you. And when it's over, he doesn't just roll over and scroll through his phone, shutting himself off. Instead, he stays, he talks, he pulls you closer, as if he wants to hold on to the connection. Because for him, intimacy isn't the end of something, it's the beginning of something deeper. This kind of man doesn't use sex as an escape, or as a way to feel validated, or as a cure for boredom. He uses it as a language, a way of telling you, I see you, I choose you, I'm right here with you. And that is why women who experience this type of intimacy call it unforgettable. Because when a man shows up with his whole self, body, mind, and heart, you don't feel used, you feel valued, you don't feel like just an option, you feel chosen. Now, here's the reality. Not every man is ready or even capable of connecting like this. It requires maturity, it requires courage, it requires being willing to open up in ways that many men find uncomfortable. That is why this kind of connection is rare. And that's why you need to know how to recognize it when it does come along. If you want to know whether a man is driven by real connection, pay close attention to his consistency. Does he show up outside the bedroom? Does he care about your day, your worries, your passions? Does he take the time to know you beyond just your physical self? Because when intimacy is about true connection, his behavior outside of the bedroom reflects what happens inside of it. His actions in everyday life confirm what you feel when you're together. Ladies, the truth is this: intimacy with a man who values connection feels different because it actually is different. It's not a transaction, it's a transformation. It doesn't leave you feeling empty, it leaves you feeling whole. It strengthens your bond instead of making you question it. And that's the kind of intimacy every woman deserves. So here's your challenge. Don't settle for men who are only after validation, or escape, or curiosity, or easy access. Hold out for the man who desires real connection, because when you meet him, you won't have to ask yourself why he's there. You'll know it in every word he speaks, every touch he gives, every look he shares. He won't just want to sleep with you, he'll want you, fully and completely. And that changes everything. So now you know the truth. Men don't always want intimacy for the reasons you imagine. Sometimes it's about validation. Sometimes it's about running from their problems. Sometimes it's simple curiosity. Other times it's because access was easy. And yes, sometimes, if you're lucky and he's ready, it's because of real connection. But here's the most important takeaway. Sex does not automatically mean love. A man's desire for your body does not always mean he desires you as a person. Once you understand these hidden reasons, you take your power back. You stop giving your body to men who haven't earned it. You stop wasting time trying to force curiosity into commitment. And you start setting a higher standard for yourself. The kind of standard that attracts the man who actually wants you for you, not just for what's convenient. And when that man finally arrives, the one who shows up with consistency, who invests in you, who connects with you on every level, you'll know the difference instantly, because he won't just make love to your body, he'll make love to your soul. So here's my challenge to you. The next time a man tries to get close, ask yourself, why is he really here? Look deeper than the moment, look past the chemistry, and most importantly, trust your instincts. Because when you understand his reason, you also understand your worth. If this opened your eyes, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend who needs this reminder. And if you want more raw and honest insights into the male mind, make sure you hit subscribe, because the next video will reveal even more truths that men rarely admit.